Hello everyone, this is Pico Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have a review of the premiere episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now there may be spoilers in this review, so if you haven't watched it yet, I advise you to go away now, catch up with the show's first episode and then come back to this review. Now this of course is the second high profile television show from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, debuting on the Disney Plus platform following Wandavision, and it picks up shortly after the events of Avengers Endgame, where we saw an aging Steve Rogers passing the shield over to Sam Wilson, who we all know as Falcon, and we continue the adventures of both Sam and Bucky Barnes, aka Winter Soldier. Bucky Barnes, as we all know of course, was Steve Rogers' best friend throughout the first couple of movies within Captain America. And after the magic dimensional narrative of Wandavision, this promises to be a much more of a modern day contemporary actioner buddy cop narrative, very similar in vein to the Winter Soldiers. And of course we have in the lead roles returning Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson Falcon and Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes Winter Soldier. So we go on to this first episode, and I have to say this was a fantastic first entry within this show. As I mentioned before, this is going to be much more, I think, of a grounded, much more restrained series within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's going to be free, I think, of all the universe and world building, so there's going to be much less speculation, much less theories about who's going to make certain cameos and how this may link to the ongoing multiverse that we will see later on within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I think, to be fair, it will benefit the show greatly. I think it's going to be able to stand on its own. It won't have to worry about being part of a larger world. It's going to be able just to stick closely to its own narrative. And I think overall the tone was fantastic. It was very brisk, it was very fun, entertaining. Both Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan are very comfortable now in their roles. We've seen them multiple times throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe through both the Captain America movies and also the Avengers movies, and they both performed here very well. The episode itself opened with an incredible opening sequence where we saw Anthony Mackie as Falcon. He had to infiltrate, I think, certain terrorists on a plane, and this was an incredible sequence. It went on for a good 5 to 10 minutes where we see Falcon flying over the plane and being chased by certain pursuers, and he's flying in and out of the canyon. That scenes that we saw earlier on through the first couple of trailers of the show, and this was amazing. We saw missiles being shot at him and he's dodging them all, and he's evading people, all the skydivers, and they're pirouetting and shooting at him. A really elaborate, massive sequence. You know, we criticised WandaVision for being very much of a slow burn. We can't say the same accusation here. This was a great opening, and you can really see the budget for these series, which generally seems to be about 150 million to 200, and it was all laid out within this first opening sequence. So that was fantastic. And later on we had another very good scene where we see Sam doing much more of a commemorative presentation in terms of Steve Rogers, what he meant to the world, and he hands over the shield to the government. Of course, later on throughout this series, I'm pretty sure we'll see Falcon get that shield back in some capacity. And we had a welcome appearance from John Cheadle as Rhodey, so that's great, and it makes sense, of course, because Rhodey, of course, is a major part of the military, so of course it's logical that we would see him appear. And we had a good scene back and forth between him and Sam, just going over what Steve Rogers meant and what Sam was going to do further on. We then bounce back over to Bucky Barnes, and we see that he's still very haunted by the nightmares of when he was existing as the Winter Soldier. Again, another fantastic sequence where we see a flashback or a dream when we see Winter Soldier taking out various people on here. Again, harking back to what was so brilliant about the Winter Soldier. They even recalled that famous theme, that rock techno beat that we had so much in Winter Soldier as well, so that was fantastic. And then we later on catch up with Sam, and he's having these therapy sessions trying to cope more of his nightmares. Later on he goes to a restaurant and he meets up with a girl, and he goes out on a date, and she tries to ask him a lot of questions about his feelings. And then we get a very surprising revelation that the old man that Bucky was talking to, he had a son who died, and then that links back to his flashback because it was Winter Soldier that killed his son. So Bucky Barnes, they presented here as much more a very haunted character, you know, about his past. He's still trying to deal with his inner demons, and that's good. That's predictable, and again, that follows very much through to what we've seen with the previous movies. And I liked Sebastian Stan. I thought he did very well. It was a very good performance. There was a great contrast, wasn't there? Because in Sam Wilson, we have a lot more of a confident, very cocky, very assured character, and with Sebastian Stan, of course, we've got a very much more of an introverted personality. So it's going to be great to see when they eventually make that connection and start working together. And it was a very bold move, I think, from the show, not to have them coming together straight away. We build up first where they are in this world, what problems or issues they have. We had another fantastic moment where we saw Sam catching up with his sister and she's struggling for finances and they go to obtain a loan. Very funny when the banker is very fanboying over the fact that Falcon is one of the Avengers. Great little humour here. And then later on they get rejected for the loan and we get a back and forth that Sam is kind of abandoning them when he went away to join the Air Force and he can't just come back into their lives now. So very good character development. I liked all of the actors involved on here, and this is Marvel, you know, the way they do it. They enter it very nice, easy pace to get into. We understand both where Bucky and Sam are at, their place, their situations, what dilemmas they're dealing with, and it's great. This is how you do world building. We had another very good sequence when we had the emergence of the masked villains. They have the red paint on the mask and we see the emergence of them. So of course we'll get greater context of who they are and the threat that they pose later on throughout the series. And then we ended the episode where we saw the emergence of the new Captain America, the kind of US agent. Again, this was hinted very much throughout the trailers. So very interesting to see what will happen and arise from that particular storyline as well. Has he got the super soldier serum, just like we saw with Steve Rogers? As we all know, this is very typical of the government. They want a weapon that they can control and do at their own bidding. So lots of potential storytelling there, what we will see go out through the future. But overall, as a first episode, this was very good. I was pleasantly surprised. I was pleasantly entertained. And I thought for the most part, it was fantastic. You know, again, charismatic performances from both their lead characters involved. Very layered, very appealing, very bright. Of course, it's a very different in tone to what we saw from Wandavision. And again, whereas Wandavision, I was frustrated in the first couple of episodes because I thought it really took its time to get going. I don't think we're going to get any problems with this show. It's going to hit the ground running with lots of action, lots of spectacle, lots of humour, lots of banter and excellent chemistry between Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie. I'm pretty sure of that. So yeah, overall, very pleased, very entertained and very satisfied with this first opening episode of the show. So we will go on and see what happens in future episodes. I believe this will consist of 6 episodes and it will tend to be about 40 to 50 minutes long. So again, very different from the format of WandaVision where you had about 20 to 30 minutes. So here we're going to get a lot more short, sharp, lean action adventure, and I think that will be a pleasant surprise and a welcome change of pace for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So those are my thoughts and feelings on the premiere episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Let me know what you think in the comments below. How do you think it compares to WandaVision? What are you going to make that adjustment from the more magic and supernatural elements of WandaVision to the more contemporary action thriller beats that we will get within this series as well? Are you preferring that direction, or would you like more return to the subject matter that we saw in WandaVision? We do, of course, later on have Loki coming up on Disney Plus shortly after the Falcon and Winter Soldier. So those are my thoughts. Please hit those like and subscribe and notification buttons and help me provide more content for you in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, stay at safe distances, and I will see you very, very soon.